7 steps to lasting change. How do you create change that lasts a lifetime? How do you help someone transform to take their life to a whole nother level? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I want to welcome you to another episode of Unconscious Communication Secrets with myself, Munir Al-Busaidi, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the 7 steps to lasting change. How can we truly transform someone for the rest of their lives? How do you get someone to get over a habit that they've had for a very long time? How do you get someone to change something that they've been doing for the whole of their life? So today we're talking about the 7 steps to lasting change. Now I got to give credit where credit is due. This is a model that comes from Tony Robbins. Now, included in this model is for each of those 7 steps, I'm also going to be sharing with you how NLP is applied and works in each of those steps. So today is a whole heap of awesomeness, and I'm very excited to be sharing that with you. So let's talk about these very quickly. So here are the 7 steps. Connect and appreciate their world, get leverage, interrupt and annihilate the paradigm, define the problem in solvable terms, access empowering resources. Let me just go through them, okay, rather than talk to you about them. So the first step, the first thing that you're going to want to do, if you want to help someone truly transform, if you want to help someone change, like whatever it is, they've been smoking or they want to lose weight or something, whatever it is. But the first step that you need to do is you got to understand the person. Like, for you to truly influence a person, find out what already influences them, right? And so this is key. Like, for you to truly influence a person, you have to understand what already influences them. So this is step number 1. You want to connect with the person and understand them at another level. Now, connect and understanding people are 2 separate things, but they are both step number 1. So let's talk about connect. So understanding their world. Now, I'm just going to give you 3 out of the 12 techniques that we use in order to understand their world. But and these are just a quick couple of examples of how NLP how we use NLP, because NLP can be used for communication. People say, oh, NLP can be used to help transform people. This is how you use NLP to transform people's lives. So the first step is understanding a person's belief structure. I'm not talking about your religion or whatever, but this is where you understand what are their global beliefs, like in terms of what do they believe about the world, about life, about their time, about how people should behave. What do they believe about themselves? What are their values? What is most important to the person? So you understand all of their beliefs, their belief structure in terms of how they think, right? Then you understand what type of a person they are. And the second picture is a sieve, because the type of person that we are filters our behaviors into the world. So this is where you understand what we call meta programs, which is basically what type of a person they are, right? So you understand what type of a person they are. And then the third thing is understanding what triggers and anchors they might have. So for example, if they have a problem, what triggers them to have a problem? We all have these little triggers. Someone says something and that really kind of gets on our nerves. That's like a trigger. What are some of the triggers or the existing anchors that they have for some of the problems that they have, okay? Or some of the eating habits. Or if it's someone that smokes, like when someone smokes every time they have a coffee, that's a trigger. You want to understand their triggers. So in order to help them, you got to understand all of those things. These are just some of the things that you'd want to understand. So in terms of the first step, connect and appreciate their world. This is appreciating their world. But in terms of connection, this is where we talk about rapport building. And NLP has a number of techniques when it comes to how to build rapport. And in a few videos, I talk about all of that. But just wanted to give it to you at a top level when like a lot of people know that NLP is good for rapport building. So that's step 1. Connect and appreciate their world. Now, step 2 is you want to get leverage. Now, what do I mean by getting leverage? When we get leverage, people always think, oh, you know what? I should change. I should lose weight. I should better myself, or I should do this, or I should learn this. how do you convert a should to a must? It must happen. It must happen now, right? How do you convert that? And that's what we talk about when we talk about leverage, because you know, how do you convert something from a should to a must? So for example, like at one point in time, for a few months, I actually gained a lot of weight, and I got to like 110 kilos, like way heavier than I am now. And I was like, oh, I should start losing weight. I should start losing weight. I should start losing weight. And then what happened is, I ran into someone, and do you know one of these blunt talkers? I had one of these guys who's a blunt talker, and he saw me, and he went, Munir, what the hell happened to you? Listen, you look disgusting. You need to lose weight. Stop it. You need to lose weight now. And I was like, yeah, I tried to make a joke out of it. And he's like, don't joke about it. You've become fat. Stop it. And like he made me feel so like terrible, but in a good way. Like, I mean, and I say in a good way. It was you'd think it was mean, but at the same time, it's because of that event that I was like, I stopped going down that path and I reversed it straight away. I went from a I should to I must and I have to do it now, right? Like I was not going to let another day go by. So how do you create leverage? So when we look at a couple of NLP techniques that you can use to create leverage, first of all is like my example, create enough pain and someone's going to get leverage, right? If you say to someone, stop this or you're going to die, that's creating enough pain that they're going to get leverage, right? But then you have techniques like timeline. These are NLP techniques where you get someone to go into the future, which is kind of a way of creating pain, but you get them to go into the future 1 year from now, 2 years from now, what happens, 3 years from now, if you don't change, what happens, etc. These are timeline. But then there's also one of my favorites, hypnosis. Getting someone into a trance where all of their mind is connected to the outcome that they want to achieve. And so this is how you do step 2, which is gaining leverage. So I've just shared with you 3 of the techniques that you could use. There's about 10 of the techniques, actually probably more, but like 10 that I teach in the first level. Now, the third thing is interrupt the pattern. So what do I mean by interrupting the pattern? When we have a habit, it's like our mind starts down a path and continues down a path just because it's always done that. Have you ever, like you've lived somewhere for a very long time and then you move house and you leave work and you find yourself like you just automatically drove to your old house? That's because you have a habit. You start down a path and you continue down that path because it's a habit. It's like it's a pattern that you've been running again and again and again and again. So what happens is the third step is you want to break that pattern. You want to interrupt the pattern so that it doesn't work again. It's like if you have a CD and you just like scratch it, right? You know, a CD plays music. You have loads of songs on it. You put it in the CD player and it will play a bunch of songs. But if you take a CD out and you scratch the CD, you scratch, and then you try and put the CD in the CD player, it's not going to play the same track anymore. Why? Because you've interrupted it. And that's what we do when you come to this third step. How do you interrupt people's patterns? And we use something in NLP called pattern interrupt. There's a lot of ways to do it, but there's 3 modalities that we mainly interrupt patterns in. When we visualize something. So sometimes when we think of all the bad things that can happen, like we're visualizing, we're playing a movie in our minds. How do you interrupt that? Or how do you interrupt our physiology? So when we're feeling bad, what are we doing with our body? How do you interrupt that? Or how do we interrupt the things that we're saying to ourselves, the words that we're saying to ourselves? So there are 3 modalities and we interrupt those. So that's number 3. Number 4 is you define the problem in solvable terms. In NLP, this is what we call a reframe. And I have a couple of videos on that if you ever want to check out the videos on reframing. But to give you an example of what I mean when we say define the problem in solvable terms. when someone comes to me, they have a challenge, they think that, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's something wrong with my mind, or there's something like I can't think properly, etc. And what I do is I do a reframe, which is I look at something from a different angle. And I just say something to them that defines the problem in a solvable term so that they feel better about it instantly, just by stating the problem in a way that we can solve. And so here's what I mean by that. When someone comes to me and they say, oh my God, I have a problem, I can't, there's something wrong with me, I don't know what's wrong with me, and I just say to people, you know what, let me give you an example. If someone has a severe, anxiety, for example, they get really stressed and their whole body tenses up, and then they think there's something wrong with them. What I say to them is, there's actually nothing wrong with you. It's a little bit like you have a Ferrari for a car. Imagine you have a Ferrari for a car. The challenge that you have right now is that you've got a very powerful tool, but you're just driving it in reverse. So in actual fact, you have an amazing gift. Like what you're describing to me, it sounds like you've got an amazing gift. It's just that you're using it the wrong way. So you're thinking negative things, which is causing you to feel really bad. However, if we just teach you to reverse what you're doing, then you will actually start to feel absolutely amazing. And so what I've done there is I've defined the problem in solvable terms. That was number 4. You want to define the problem in solvable terms. For example, in order to do that, we use what we call a reframe. And like I say, I have a few videos on that elsewhere. Now, the 5th step, access empowering resources. So if you've ever seen, you've played Super Mario back in the day, and for those of you that don't know who Super Mario is, you know what? Go and Google it. Like this, I just feel old right now. Like talking about Super Mario, and I just realized like some people won't know who Super Mario is. And that makes me sad. But anyhow, Super Mario, in case you didn't know, is this is a game character, and back in the day, like on Nintendo, you know what? It hurts me that I'm explaining who Super Mario is. I feel hurt right now. But anyhow, Super Mario is this game character, and back in the day, what he would do is he'd you go through the game. And you jump up and you get the star, and when he gets the star, he becomes invincible. Nothing can touch him because he's got all the power, all the relevant resources. And that's what we talk about when I'm talking about step 5, is how do you access empowering resources, so that when you're in a challenging situation, how can you tap into all of your power? And so how do we do this? Is like, we do this by techniques like anchoring. We take hypnosis, the timeline therapy, etc. But this is what step 5 is all about: enabling you to access your empowering resources. Number 6, condition the change. So I'm just going to share with you 3 ways of the many ways. But what do I mean by condition the change? So once you've got someone to get rid of their old pattern, to create empowering resources for the new behavior, etc., then you want to condition the change. And this means, like, imagine you've got a bunch of sand and you draw a line in it, right? If you draw a line in it one time, it's okay, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Some wind blows, it might fill the hole again, etc. But if you go back and forth and 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 back and forth, and do it again and again and again, and then what's going to happen is you will create a deep pattern that stays for forever. This is really will go for a very, very long time, okay? So, and how we do that is just a quick couple of naming of some NLP techniques. You have the swish technique, you have the anchoring, you've got hypnosis, etc. And that's how you condition. So that's number 6. Condition the change. And that's just 3 of the many ways. But that's how you, like, once you've gone back and forth, you create a permanent a permanent pattern. And that's what it's all about. You create a new permanent pattern. All right, cool. And then finally, number 7, test it. You've done something, you want to make sure it works, test it. Test it and to make sure that it works, and then you do an ecology check. What do I mean by an ecology check? An ecology check is you want to make sure that it works in their world. You know, if someone comes to me and says, oh, you know what, I never want to have sugar again, okay? But you've got kids. What happens if it's your kid's birthday party and they say to you, please, mom, have cake? What do you want to do then? And it's just, you just want to test it. You want to like make sure that they are in the right, you know, they've thought everything through and that everything works in every different scenario. So those are the 7 steps to lasting change. So just as a quick recap, those are the 7 steps to lifelong transformation. Connect and appreciate their world, get leverage, interrupt and annihilate the pattern, define the problem in solvable terms, access empowering resources, make the change, condition the change until it becomes a habit, and test it and do an ecology check. So that is our video for today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it very useful. And you can see how this is a way that you can put NLP techniques together in order to create amazing and lifelong change. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. Check out the next video, and I will see you on another video very, very soon.
Oh, hello Internet. Munir heard you like cat videos, so he hired me to talk to you. He makes videos to show you how to influence yourself through mindset changes and others through the power of persuasion. So when you hit the subscribe button now, you will get exclusive interviews, secrets, and mind-blowing tips on how to lead a more successful life.